So we're going to start off turning green bowls today. We'll be using cherry for most of the demonstrations. This was just cut day before yesterday, actually. And you people in the front are going to have a thrill because you'll have the opportunity to take some souvenirs home with you. Well, I could have picked the matching one. But this is basically the log of the tree, okay? With the pith running through the center. All right, are you with me? What I do in my bowl turning is I cut straight through the pith. Pith is where the maximum amount of movement is going to be. Any of you that have cut down a tree, you know the first thing that happens, you look down there and right where the pith's at, you got a crack to start with. What I do is I cut right through the center of the tree, trying to keep the growth rings balanced, okay? Normally, the pith is either to the left or to the right. Very few trees that pith is running straight up the center on. What we want to do is take advantage of the growth ring positions, and that on one side of the pith, the growth rings are going to be tight. On the other side, they're going to be loose because the pith is not in the center. So what we want to do is try to balance, keep all the tight rings on one side. I'm being dressed again. All the loose growth rings on the other side. Once the bowl starts drying, all those growth rings, if we keep them semi-balanced, close to being balanced, will keep the warpage down as the bowl is drying, okay? So I cut it through the center, and then I knock the corners off, okay, with a bandsaw, or the bandsaw or the chainsaw. We'll be going through this pretty rapidly because I normally turn pretty rapidly, okay? You have to holler at me, wave your hands, stand up and up and down if you have a question, okay? Because sometimes I have a tendency to go just a little bit rapidly. I turn on heavy-duty lathes. Some of you may have some lighter lathes, and you may have to chuck or mount your bowl blank different than I do. If you have a smaller lathe, please don't try to put a great big bowl blank on it because it's going to walk all over the floor. Start with smaller blanks and then work up to what your lathe has the capacity to handle. You need a real good substantial lathe to be turning bowls on. Mounting the bowl on the lathe can be done in any number of ways. Mount a faceplate on it, which is about the safest that I know of. You can put it between drive centers, which allows it to spin and is not really safe. Or you can mount it on a screw chuck, and this screw chuck comes with, to my knowledge, with every chuck that's sold has a screw chuck with it, okay? This is about the safest for demonstrating in a crowd because it's going to be real difficult for this bowl blank to come flying off. And when it does, it's going to come straight this way, okay? So we're going to screw it straight onto the lathe. This will serve two purposes. It'll allow me to finish the bottom somewhat, as well as hold it on the lathe.
If you want to see what we're looking at, you look at that camera right there.
Okay, all right. Anytime you have anything mounted on the lathe, even if you're using a faceplate, I highly recommend you bring the tail stock up. Anytime you can use this tail stock, you really need it up there just for a safety factor, all right? I'm a member of the American Association of Wood Turners, and the very first thing, and anything that the American Association of Wood Turners does is profess safety. If it can't be done safely, it should not be done or attempted. I have some brochures from the American Association of Wood Turners up here with membership applications if anybody's interested. The magazine that they put out quarterly is worth twice the membership fee. All right. Generally turning bowls, we're going to be using a bowl gouge. Is that me making that noise out there? I'll pass one around. Please don't drop it. Okay? Make sure it gets back up here. They're kind of expensive. The reason that I've gone to the point where, reached the point where I mostly use these adjustable handles is that when you buy the tool, you normally have that much tool sticking out. Okay? I have a little bit of trouble controlling it, but by changing the length of that bit, I have a little bit better control. Now, that doesn't mean you go out there and grind the end of your tool down. They're expensive. It's just something that I found works good for me. If you have the tools that are mounted in the handles themselves, continue to use them. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. I just happen to enjoy the sweet spot when it's a little bit closer to the tip of the handle. Are we okay so far? Everybody kind of has a good idea of what we're fixing to do here? Always start your lathe at the slowest possible speed, because if this is not balanced or you forgot to do something, it's going to come off. And the kinetic energy is a lot less at 2 RPM than it is at 3,000. It won't go quite as far. Now, as I bring this up, you probably are going to feel a little bit of moisture out there. Because this is really a wet piece of wood. Let's turn a little wood, folks.